and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Ali.
And this is our final episode of 2025, Ali. How do you feel?
I want to know where the year's gone.
Truly. Well, we're going to talk about it. We've got a big episode today to conclude the year. We're going to talk WSL because this past weekend was the final weekend of the WSL in 2025, and it finished with a bang, and specifically a couple of massive matches. We're going to go around the horn. We're going to talk NWSL updates
around
on
the horn?
Around the world.
Around the horn, which for British listeners of a certain age, that is an old radio sitcom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's an ESPN, a sports talk show here. Anyways, we're going to go around the world. We're going to talk NWSL. Some moves have already been made in the offseason, plus, of course, an update on the Trinity Rodman saga, and all that is there. And then, Ali, we're going to conclude with what? Because this is going to be the best part of the episode, which obviously we're saving for last.
Yes, we're going to talk about our hits of 2025 and our misses of 2025. The good, the bad, the ugly, the everything in between.
It was kind of wild going through everything and being like, wow, that was 2025. It feels like forever ago.
I just still don't know where this year's gone, man.
Truly. It's been the longest and the shortest, but let's get into all of it.
You're missing You're missing an important segment. Like she tries to skip over this every single.
I'm so sorry. What are you wearing?
There we go. In the segment of what the hell is Ali wearing? This is probably my favorite piece of college merch, other than the sweatshirt that I got when I was in the States. It's from Pace University, which is a university in New York. Specifically, I think Brooklyn is where, or just before Brooklyn is where their thing, and they are the Setters. If you want to know what their
like an Irish setter.
Yeah, what their sports name, it's the Setters, and it's a polo shirt, and I'm like obsessed with it. So it's got a little setter and a P for Pace, and then it's got Pace on the sleeve, and it's really cute. So I'm representing Pace University today. Go Setters.
Super cute, super random,
which is what I am.
Kicking it off with the WSL, the WSL 1, as it has been coined here in the year of 2025. We are going to talk, it's the final weekend of the WSL in 2025. And as we mentioned, some massive games, some massive matches all around. We're going to talk United Tottenham, and we're going, of course, to talk West Ham Liverpool. Ali, which do you want to kick it off with? Let me guess, it's not West Ham.
The thing is, right, I'm going to start with this bit, and then we are going to start with Manchester Tottenham. It's just the fact that we obviously said that we were going to talk about this, and then I said to Sarah, don't ask me what you always ask me, which is, are you concerned? Because I get that all the time. Because my answer is always going to be no, I'm not. Until we mathematically cannot be safe, I am not concerned. And she called, and you were like, be honest. I've been honest about Arsenal. And my response is, I'm honest about our performances. We are terrible at the moment. We are awful. But I'm not concerned. And that is the honest answer. And whether you accept my honesty or not is, I don't know.
Let me ask a question off of that, though. You say you're not concerned. You're not concerned about relegation this year? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Are you concerned about the fact that the club seems to continue to always be in some kind of a relegation battle? It always comes down to what can you do in January so we can save ourselves. And it doesn't ever seem to get better.
No.
Sorry, that was so harsh.
That is so harsh. Jesus. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And I have to be very careful what I say. But it does feel like that. And it does feel like it feels like it's a vicious cycle. And this is something that's been going on and on, which is the club aren't investing as much because they're not getting much financial return, because there isn't that much support for West Ham, I'm going to be honest, between the men's fans not really caring about the women's team and the fact that we have Arsenal, Chelsea and Tottenham on our doorstep, which the neutrals tend to go to, because that's where you're going to see your Lionesses, you're going to see your US national team. You know, we've just got our first Lioness and we're possibly going to be selling her to Juve in January. So there isn't, our attendance is terrible, which means the club is not getting that much investment, so therefore they're not putting that much investment in, which means the performances are terrible, which means people aren't coming to watch them, which means that we're not getting, and that seems to be the honest, vicious cycle that West Ham are currently in as we speak. the club doesn't seem to want to step up and put that money in on the hopes that they get the return back, which is what we've seen previously with Chelsea and Arsenal. They've been doing that for years. They've put the funds in and they've got the return. Honest answer, if West Ham put the money in, would we get the return? I don't know, because again, I find it hard how we're going to get out of that vicious cycle, because we aren't going to get the neutrals, because when you've got Arsenal on your doorstep, Chelsea on your doorstep, that can offer you Champions League, they can offer you recognizable names. Like West Ham have recognizable names. If you really like women's football, you know who these players are. Really, I think Kat Gorey is probably our most famous player, followed by Nuke Denton, and that's only because she's just had a call up. We'll get into the West Ham bit all now. We'll do Tottenham, Man United in a bit. And so I don't think we'd get the neutrals even if we put all of that money in, which
is the unsolvable problem,
is the unsolvable
Yeah.
problem, and that is the incentive. So I do think we're going to constantly be in this cycle.
Mm.
And is the football good at the moment? No, it's awful. Like it
Mm-hmm.
genuinely is terrible. Like friends now used to be like asking me about my weekend. They now know not to ask about my weekend because it's not good.
Yeah.
It both on both sides. It's not good, both on the men's and the women's sides. It's just not good.
We don't care about the men's side, though.
We don't care about the men's
I'm
side,
just
but
kidding.
yeah, that's the problem. That's where we're at. Is the fact that it's vicious. And I would say it's the same for Liverpool. I was talking to Liverpool fans this weekend, and Liverpool normally bring you a like contingent for away games. Like they have buses, they've been doing fan buses for years. They will bring you like they will make your away end sound like a home end for them. They are just they they brought a handful of fans this time because they have given they're the same thing as the fact that one fan, and I won't name them because it's not fair, but turned around and said to me the writing was on the wall when they hired Gareth Taylor. As soon as Gareth Taylor became the manager of Liverpool, they knew the club had given up.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it is a little bit, because
It's
as a
true though.
podcast, we've had a gripe with Gareth Taylor since 2020.
Yeah.
And here we are again.
He was a cheap option, and that is literally what this fan said to me. He was a cheap option for Liverpool, in the fact that they had a great option in who the assistant manager was, and she'd done really well for them when Matt Beard left, but they decided that no, they wanted to go for the cheaper option, and that's as simple as that. And so fans have given up, and the problem we find is with specifically women's sport, we are finding it, especially in the UK, that if the results aren't there, the fans won't come. There are a few diehards, there's a few of us that will go rain or shine. Your club could be, conceding 10, 11 each game and you still go. But unlike what we're seeing in the men's game over here, which is the diehards that go in and like day in, day out, regardless of the result, they'll moan about it, but they'll go. We're getting the drop off here, and it is that never ending unanswerable cycle of you're not getting the fans, you're not getting the investment, you're not getting the players.
I will say, I called it the unsolvable problem, but it's not. It's not. We're talking about Liverpool and United right now. Or sorry, West Ham.
I mean, we are a United, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it's West Ham United, so technically I'm right. We're talking about Liverpool and West Ham right now, and these are two clubs that have a ton of money. So it is a cycle unless the powers that be, and by that I mean the owners, decide we're going to invest a ton of money and inject a ton of cash in and know that we won't see a return for 3, 4, maybe 5 years, and then we're going to start seeing it. That's what Michelle Kang is doing and banking on. You look at Manchester United. When did they join the WSL? Was it 2021?
No, it was earlier than that. It's like 2020.
It was the 2019-2020 season. Okay, so what? This is their 7th season in the league, and look at them. And I would argue that it took them a couple of years to really start to compete, but by year 5, everything turned. And I think so. We've seen that it's not an unsolvable problem. It's an unsolvable problem if you're only thinking in terms of the next year or the next 2 or the next 3, but you have to look beyond that.
I give you that, but I will say Manchester United had one thing that allowed them more than even funding, because they're probably one of the most underfunded clubs in the league at the moment, is they have the name. Manchester United still have the name. We just literally saw this week Pernille Harder talking about how her first choice would have been gone to Manchester United when she was a kid because she grew up as a Manchester United fan. She was a massive fan of David Beckham. She's been a Man United fan for years, but they didn't have a women's team.
You don't think Liverpool has that pedigree?
No,
Mm,
not to the.
really?
If you look at the bank that Manchester United have in the Far East, they have in the US, they have in Africa, they have a reach, and Liverpool is getting there. But Liverpool had a massive drop off. You've got to remember, Liverpool were big. I'm giving you a massive history lesson on English football here. Liverpool were huge in the 80s. Again, this is the men's
Yeah.
team, but they were massive in the 80s. They dropped off in
Yeah.
the 90s, and it was all Arsenal, all Manchester United. They've had a resurgence since. So maybe
Yeah.
we'll see that name pay off in the next cycle. But as things stand, but you're talking about like what Manchester United could do is that they had one of the best squads in the Championship, or WSL 2, as we now have to call it, when they started because of the name and the name alone. You think you could tempt Alex Greenwood, from, I think she was at Liverpool at the time because she's played for all of them, to drop down a division for anything other than, the Casey Stoney project that was Manchester United.
Yes, and I think that there's still more to it. Because you said this exact same thing about London City, and you were like, they're not going to get the supreme talent because they don't have the name, they don't have the badge, they don't have that honor that people grow up watching this team, they want to play for them. Well, they're sitting in 6th place right now. They don't have that. Liverpool and West Ham, if you're saying they don't have that either, then they're sitting in the same place as London City. What's the only difference between these two teams? The investment. I'm not saying that you're going to challenge Manchester City at the top of 30 points right now, but there is definitely room to move upward, and it's not an unsolvable problem. It's really not. I think that, I don't know, a West Ham team or a Liverpool team that has had upward movement in 2 years, that's having cash injected into them, that has training facilities, that can be a club that players can look at and say, oh my gosh, look at what they're building for the women. I want to be a part of that. That is something that I don't care what the badge is. I don't care what the honor is. That is something every player wants to be a part of. And that is how you can rival these clubs that people grow up watching and thus want to play for. And that's what London City's doing. It's working. That's what Kansas City did. It worked. Again, all due respect to Kansas City.
No, Kansas City, I give you, it's making me laugh that you're like, training facilities. I've been to the London City ground. It's a nice ground, but it's a non-league ground. The facilities aren't fantastic. It's Bromley. It's not.
Fair. Maybe it's not the facilities. Maybe it's purely the cash that they're offering the players. Maybe it's behind the scenes training, wellness. Michelle Kang is investing in sports science behind ACL preventions for women specifically, so on and so forth. Maybe it's all of those. But either way, like, I get what you're saying. I get, I also feel like it's this never-ending cycle that just keeps feeding itself. I can only imagine your frustration with it. Sorry to get you onto that, buddy.
No, but it's true, and that's the thing. So it just made me laugh when you were like, "Be honest." I'm like, "This is me being honest in the fact that," because you were like, "I was harsh about Arsenal," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not saying that we aren't terrible at the moment. We are." And like, you look at that game, it was a mistake by one of our players that led to their equalisers both times. Like, we aren't playing great football, but until we physically cannot be safe, I'm not concerned. But unfortunately, I do think we talk about this, and it's a WSL problem as a whole. I feel there is a lot of teams. Mainly, it's out. I mean, there's a couple of clubs showing ambition, but a lot of clubs management, as in like, I'm on about the owners' management. I'm not on about like coaches. I'm on about ownership management. Biggest thing is like, well, as long as we don't get relegated, that's all that matters. So they don't care. They don't care in the manner that it's done. They don't care about investment. They don't care about improving or fighting. It's just like, and I'm lumping Leicester City in that. I'm lumping West Ham in that. I'm lumping Liverpool in that. Brighton, to an extent, this season have been a bit like, we're mid-table. I don't think we're. I feel like there was a bit of intent last couple of seasons for Brighton, but now it's sort of like, well, we're not going to get relegated.
Did you say Everton? Because I'll put them in there too.
Whereas I feel like Everton are actually investing.
Enough? Or is this the investment that like West Ham made when they got Gorey and like it was just enough to maybe not get relegated.
I think that's what it is that I think a lot of clubs now are putting in enough to not end up being another Reading, another Blackburn, another Donny Bells, but it's the bare of barest minimums.
Whew. All right. Should we briefly discuss this game? Because I do feel like we covered the meat and the most, I think, interesting topic right there. But West Ham and Liverpool just drew 2-2. It was a wild match that kicked off with Gemma Bonner in the 19th minute getting a straight red card, which should have been a yellow. Let's just say that now.
No, it shouldn't have. Right. This is the thing.
I will say, all of the West Ham fans online, Allie, are saying, I'm a West Ham fan, but that should have been a yellow. That was harsh. That should have been a yellow.
No, I thought that watching it in real time. I was like, what the hell she got red for? Like, Then I saw the repeat at halftime. It's the thing that I don't agree with, but she stopped a goal scoring opportunity and she was the last defender, and that is why she got a red. It's a stupid rule. I hate it as a rule, but that is why she got a straight red. Is because she took Rico's legs from under her and she was the last defender. And that's red. It's a textbook red.
First of all, I like the rule. I like the rule. I agree with the rule. I didn't see it. I didn't see the replay of it. So I can't speak to that. But either way, I mean, it was pretty wild stuff. So no goals in the first half. United scored. Liverpool answered 2 minutes later. United then went up again 2-1, and then Liverpool equalized in the 87th minute. And once again, West Ham had 2 leads in this game and blew them both. We don't have to go deeper in that. Sorry, Allie. I feel like I've been very harsh to you about West Ham. Is there anything else? Is there anything else to discuss about this game?
I think that pretty much sums it up, to be honest. It was, both teams were poor. I'm going to be honest. Both teams were poor. Like, it wasn't a good game. You can see why both these teams are the bottom 2 teams, because
for sure
both were horrendous. Sure.
Yeah, sometimes the bottom versus bottom, it ends up being an utter blast, and this was just kind of like a bad game to watch. All right, from a bad game to watch to an utter joy. Was United Tottenham the match of the season so far, Allie?
It was definitely up there, I have to say. I was watching this on my way back from the damp squib that was West Ham Liverpool. And I have to say this, and I ask you, so I said about teaching you terminology. Sarah, are you aware of the phrase Spursy?
You mean like Tottenham Hotspurs are being Spursy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've used that before.
They've spursed it up.
Yeah, I would say that canon should be used.
Has that translated for you? Has that translated for you?
Am I missing something here?
No, it's just because I didn't know if you were aware, because again, it's mainly a men's football term, but it's like,
oh no, we've definitely used it here.
Spurs have spursed it.
Yeah. Well, so they spursed it up real good in here because Tottenham went up 3-0. And United came back from a 3-goal deficit to equalize. And might I just say, though, like, I feel like you hear that scoreline and you think, like, oh, Tottenham dominated and then they totally fell off. Incorrect. United had incredible chances across the board the entirety of the first half. Some shots that hit the crossbar, some that were cleared off of the goal line, just like last-ditch defending by Tottenham. And United looked fantastic all game. They just couldn't find the back of the net until, I don't know, starting in the 75th minute, and then all hell broke loose. But United have been so fantastic this year. I cannot understand when you look at the table and you see that United are sitting 1 point behind Arsenal. It does not compute with when you think of how these two teams have played. United have been utterly fantastic and Arsenal have not played well. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. So again, I have the foresight for speaking to a lot of Manchester United fans because I live in Manchester and I live with one. In fact, I asked my flatmate before we started recording, I was like, we're going to talk about Man United. What do I need to know from a Man United perspective? And the 3 points they gave me, and I can't help but agree with, is one, they have one of the smallest squads still in the league, and specifically defensively, they're tired. they're knackered. That defensive back line is playing every single minute, and they're playing Champions League. They're playing, they're about to go into cup competitions, and they're playing the league. He doesn't rotate his squad really, and they're knackered. They're absolutely done
Well, they
in.
don't have the deep bench to rotate it, so they can't really.
Correct. The second one is there is a lack of faith in the manager. It seems both from the club and
We hear
players.
this every year, and then nothing happens.
Because again, he's Gareth Taylor. He's cheap. He's the cheap option. He managed to do something to secure his job each season. So whether it's to get to an FA Cup final, whether it's to win an FA Cup, whether it's to guarantee Champions League,
Right.
then I think the club is basically going to see how he does in Champions League, and then go from there. And one of their biggest ones is we talk about squad depth is they had a spate of games where they didn't have their number one keeper, and again, this is terrible management from the manager. They had a really inexperienced keeper. Saf Middleton has the potential to be a great keeper, and she should have gone out on loan last season when they had Merps and Talis Joyce, and they didn't. And so when
Was
Talis
that
Joyce
just
broke her
last
socket,
season?
I know, right?
What in the world? I feel like Mary Earps has been at PSG for at least 2 years now. That is insane. I'm sorry. Continue.
But yeah, so when their goalkeeper broke their face, like she's had a fractured eye socket, they didn't have an experienced backup, and they had big games against Manchester City. Villa ended up being a massive game for them. They've now decided that it's better to play a keeper in the Batman mask than it is to have their young keeper. So there is definitely some mismanagement, I will say, going on at Manchester United. But we have to give them credit where credit is due, because they have pulled out some insane results. They are one of the few teams to take points off of Chelsea. They've taken points off of Arsenal. They played an absolute blinder for PSG, and were the first English side to confirm moving on in the Champions League. Again, we don't know in what capacity, but they are definitely going on to another stage in the Champions League. So there is something missing to push them on, because they were title contenders at the beginning of the season, and I honestly would have put money on them being up there in the mix. And then, as we've seen, they've petered off in December through various reasons.
Well, they have a big one to bring it back, January 10th, the first match back of 2026. It's Arsenal hosting United. That's going to be a blast. Real quick, from United to City, we have to give credit where credit is due. Listen to this and tell me you are not utterly stunned. How are we not celebrating Bunny Shaw more? I know we do it anytime we can on this podcast, but I just mean as a society. You and I do. We do a great job of it. Pat on the back to us because it's so deserved. But listen to this. Bunny Shaw made history becoming the first Manchester City player to score 100 goals with 103 goals in 120 appearances. Those are FIFA-esque statistics. Video game, numbers. Crazy. Yeah, she's been on one again this year, and it's been really fun to watch. All right, final, and we're going to rip through this because we spent all too much time on the WSL. Listen, we're talking about United. We spent a lot of time talking about Chelsea after they suffered their first loss last weekend, and these two squads are squads that it kind of feels like it's going to look very different come next year. So do it now, or when are you really going to do it? United specifically are going to lose some pretty key players, expiring contracts in the summer of 2026. We don't know if they'll lose them. I'm just saying expiring contracts. Elatoon, Turland, Galton, Blundell, and Williams. But specifically, I really want to talk about Chelsea because this is a squad whose makeup will look very, very different come 2026, my assumption is. Expiring contracts come the summer of 2026. Allie, are you ready for this? Macario, Beaver Jones, Kerr, Wrighton, Millie Bright, Lucy Bronze, Hannah Hampton, all of them expiring contracts 2026. Obviously, Chelsea might resign, but could it be starting of a changeover of a new Chelsea?
To be honest, I think they should, because one of the things that I think we've seen is that not the downfall of Chelsea, but I said it last week. I said I feel like they're not as imposing anymore. They're not as threatening as they used to be. It's because they're an aging squad. And looking at that list, I think Macario is probably going to move on. Is probably going to come back stateside. I wouldn't be that surprised. They should keep Beaver Jones. Kerr, I wouldn't be surprised if she went to Australia because she's got a bubba, you know. I don't know if her and Kirsty they've got no real ties to England, so it's either she'll come back to the NWSL or she'll go to Australia. Bright has been a great servant for Chelsea, but again, I don't see them renewing her. Brighton would be a shame for them to lose. Hampton, I think, will stay, and Bronze will probably stay. But they will lose some very key players. Bronze is going to carry on until she's going to get cryogenically frozen, and we're going to see her in the 2075 World Cup.
It's wild that we can't say she will play until she breaks her leg and can't run anymore because, well, she broke her leg and she still played. So we'll see. We'll see if anything ends up stopping her. All right. That's it for WSL 2025. That's a wrap on it. Next, we'll talk WSL 2026. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world. To Spain, Barcelona remain flying high after their 5-1 win this weekend. Real Madrid remain in second after their 3-0 win over Granada. However, after their 2-2 draw, Atletico Madrid remains solidly in fourth.
To Italy, and a 2-0 win this weekend sees Roma go 5 points clear at the top of the table. In the Milano derby, it was Inter Milan that were victorious, winning 5-1 over AC. And Fiorentina won 3-1 over up-and-comers Como.
To Germany, another massive win for Bayern this weekend keeps them atop of the table. Wolfsburg are in hot pursuit after their 6-1 win. However, Eintracht fall to 6th after their draw with Berlin.
And to France, and Lyon smashed Le Havre 7-0 this weekend to remain firmly in first place. PSG, however, could only muster a draw against Montpellier, which now sees the gap between first and second widen to 5 points. Paris FC could also only manage a 0-0 draw this weekend.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed-sponsored jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
Finish your fantasy lineup?
No, but I'm joining this paid group chat with insider info.
Dude, seriously? Forward it to me. Security alert from McAfee. That group's as legit as that knockoff jersey you're wearing.
McAfee's scam detector is available in all McAfee plans for as little as $39.99 for your first year. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
To the NWSL, we've got two topics here. The first, very quickly, we're going to talk about some moves already because free agency movement has already begun. And second, we're going to talk Trinity Rodman / league updates on what's going on there. So
it's still going on, people.
It is not even close to being done. No. It is fascinating, though, so we'll get into it because we have updates since our episode last Wednesday. So quickly, NWSL moves. First and foremost, Boston Legacy FC get a goalkeeper, and it's Casey Murphy, who has signed with the Boston squad, who will start play in 2026.
That's a great signing for Boston. Well done, Boston.
All right, some other free agency moves. For the offseason so far in the NWSL, Brianna Pinto has moved from North Carolina to Chicago Stars. Chloe Ricketts has moved from Houston to Boston. Another signing for Boston. In fact, Abby Smith also moving out of Houston, this time for Denver. Another new squad. And Allie Watt, we already know this, Orlando Pride has released her, and she has signed with Denver. That was really wonderful how that was done, though, Allie Watt. Signing with Denver kind of in the middle of the season, knowing that she'll get to finish out the season with Orlando, and then she will start play with Denver come 2026.
Yeah, that was quite sweet.
All right. Shall we do it, Allie? Shall we get into the Trinity Rodman of it all?
Yeah, that's how we've got to call it. The Trinity Rodman saga. It keeps on going. So for very quick recap for anybody that hasn't been paying attention, which is there is rumours that Trinity Rodman is going to be leaving the NWSL because she feels, and quite rightly, she deserves more pay because she is a breakout player for her team. Her team want to pay her more money, but the NWSL have said no. It goes against the salary cap, it goes against the spirit of what the NWSL stands for, and they're not allowing it. And anybody who was paying attention last week will knows that Sarah said the word embarrassment about 5 million times, and it's a great drinking game for Christmas. So, Sarah, let's carry on. What's happened since?
With that being said, if you didn't hear last week, I think we had a very wonderful spirited debate about how we feel about this exact topic, and go back and listen. I think it really does show all sides of really what you could think about Trinity Rodman's potential movement, what it means for the NWSL, should they eliminate the salary cap, etc. So, yes, picking it up, in recent news, we got word that the league's board of governors was getting together and voting on a new roster mechanism that would allow clubs to pay select players that meet a certain criteria well beyond the current salary cap. So that would, of course, be a significant potential shift that would arrive in the NWSL starting immediately, and it would thus allow Washington Spirit to pay Trinity Rodman. According to ESPN, the league's board of governors has approved this. They call it the High Impact Player Fund, which, as I just mentioned, is designed to give clubs more financial flexibility, but still keep the salary cap. This is really interesting because specifically this would allow teams to spend up to $1 million above their salary cap. But it would have to be, it's not on one player. I mean, I guess it could be, but it can be used on multiple players who are star players who meet certain criteria.
This is so dumb. I'm sorry, but this is so dumb. Oh my God.
There's so much more to say about this, including even just when is this going to resolve? But let's pause and let's get to that, Allie, because this feels like in all of our conversations around the salary cap, not having a salary cap has come up. Maybe they should eliminate it. Keeping the salary cap has come up. Implementing what we called the MLS David Beckham rule has come up, which is very, very similar to this, which is just that in the MLS, those teams can designate certain players that are outside of the salary cap, and they can pay them extortionate amounts of money, which is, of course, how Messi is now playing for Miami. So this is a weird little in-between that nobody foresaw. Tim texted the group chat and said, this is really stupid. They should just eliminate the salary cap. But you, as a proponent of the salary cap, per our episode last week, still don't like this. Please explain.
Because look, I'm not naive enough to not know that there are players that obviously are worth more than everybody else. I know that. I'm not dumb. But the point of the salary cap for me is to make more of a level playing field amongst teams. Again, you are picking out players that can cause all sorts of resentment and dumb. This is just get rid of the salary cap then. Just get rid of it. If this is what, instead of coming up with all these different ways and moves and things to still have what you want in the salary cap, but still keep some of your high profile players, it's still going to be done. Because what is this criteria of what is a high impact player? If for example, and I don't want this, but we know Trinity Rodman's had some issues with her back and was out for a lot of the season. If that happens again next season, does that reduce the fact her being a high impact player? Does that mean that her salary is then affected by the fact because she's not impacting anything because she's not there? This is so dumb. This is so dumb. It's so wanting to have your cake and eat it too.
It's so NWSL. It's so NWSL.
It really, no offense, but it really, I'm like, I read this and I was like, what in the USA is this nonsense? Like,
Yeah. Listen. Okay, so last week we talked, you were very hung up last week on like fairness and stuff. I don't really care about that because this is professional sports. But I was saying just eliminate the salary cap. This is absurd. You said it's having your cake and eating it too. For me, it's the NWSL being like, we were wrong, but we don't want to say we were wrong, so we're going to do this instead. This is so stupid. Also, $1 million. I know the salary cap's going to increase in a couple years, and that's probably going to help teams as well. It'll jump to over $5 million in 2 years. But you could give $1 million to a singular player and just match the salary that they'd be getting in Europe if we're talking about a star player right now. This isn't going to solve a ton of things. It's going to solve the Trinity Rodman problem because then Washington's going to give her $1 million and then we're all going to move on with our lives. This is a very short-lived plan. If this passes, it will be because they want to keep Trinity Rodman in the United States. They messed up. They know that. They don't want to go back on what they've said. So this is where we are. And then very shortly after this rule will be changed or abolished and we'll all move on with our lives. I think it's really stupid. If you're going to do something, just eliminate the salary cap or raise the salary cap and say, hey, we're still a big cap, but let's double what we have right now, you know?
yeah, exactly. I'm not against raising it. I'm still a big proponent of the salary cap. I think I like it. I do. I think it does allow for a more competitive league. It just does. I think it does. However, it's too low for the level of talent that you want in the NWSL. It's too low. So just move forward with raising the salary cap earlier. Just move it on. Like, if you're going to raise it to 5.2 or whatever they were going to do it in a couple of years, just do it now. Just get it over and done with. And instead of this nonsense, because it is nonsense, because the criteria is going to be so vague. It's going to be so like high impact play. That's dumb for a start. It's just just I just get so stressed with what the NWSL does because I'm just like, it's so.
So the salary cap is 3.6 million right now. I believe in 2 years it's going to be raised to 5.1. I believe it's 0.1, but it's somewhere in the 5.
Then just raise it now because you will lose because you will lose players. And like, you've already lost a lot of players and a lot have gone to the WSL a lot, and whether it's worked out or not, we talked about that last week. So scrap all this nonsense, scrap all this like band-aid fix it plastering over the cracks and just raise the cap.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Haley Carter, who was the general manager at Orlando, who has now recently become the GM, the president of club operations at Washington Spirit, addressed the situation publicly this week. She emphasized that while Rodman's case has brought urgency to the moment, the underlying issue basically just still cuts across the league. And she said it very clearly. She said, quote, Trinity is the sort of impetus for this, but this isn't just about one player. We've already lost multiple players this year in 2 transfer windows overseas for massive transfer fees. So it's really about retaining those athletes, building a roster that can compete sustainably, keep our best players, attracting even more elite talent, and also creating an environment where world-class athletes want to be. And that's going to require some innovation from a strategic roster construction standpoint with mechanisms that we might not yet have explored. To me, that just says, that's a very kind way of saying we can't compete under the current restrictions. That's what that says. So I guess we'll see when will it resolve? If you're asking yourself that question, here's what we have for you. So this all started because obviously the Washington Spirit offered Trinity Rodman a contract. The league rejected it, saying it wasn't in the spirit of the league. And that's when the NWSL Players Association filed a grievance on behalf of Trinity Rodman. That happened on December 3rd. Now, the league has 14 days from that December 3rd date to sustain or deny the grievance in writing. If it is not resolved within 14 days, a grievance committee consisting of one representative appointed by the league and one by the Players Association will review the matter at hand. If that committee cannot resolve the issue, the dispute will go to arbitration. So, December 3rd plus 14 days is December 17th, which is the day this episode drops, Wednesday, December 17th. So we should have an answer by the time you're listening to this episode as to whether this was passed by the board and agreed upon by the players. I'm not going to predict what's going to happen because that would be making a fool out of the both of us because nothing about this has been predictable.
I have a quick question. So, because just based on what Haley Carter said here about not being able to compete, would you, as Sarah Ash, would you remove the international player, like the international spot rule? Because you can only have so many international players, right, on your team.
Does the NWSL still?
As far as I'm aware, they still do.
The NWSL still has an international player rule. It's expanded, giving teams 7 international roster spots for the 24 season and beyond. Yeah, I would remove that. I think it's stupid.
Because thank you. It is stupid. Just because, like, you want to be truly competitive. It's just that comment interests me.
I think it's interesting that you're willing to remove that, but not the salary cap, because that's doing the same thing as the salary cap. I actually would argue that we should keep that rule, but eliminate the salary cap, because that in and of itself will guarantee a little more equity. That means you're not going to get a Chelsea where every single roster spot is taken up by an international talent. So I actually think, now that I'm talking about it, I have talked myself into this. I think we keep that rule, eliminate the salary cap. Because that rule is doing, like I just said, it is maintaining the equity and the parity in the league. All right, and finally, we're going to look back on the year of 2025 in the world of women's football. And just quite simply, we're going to do best and the worst of 2025, in parentheses, that we can remember. Which means that if you have something in your head that was your favorite thing and we didn't have it here, it doesn't mean we didn't love it. It means there's so much that happened and we simply forgot.
And let us know on socials. Let us know on socials and I'll repost some people's favorites if we've missed some things.
Maybe you should kick it off, Allie.
I will kick it off because the greatest thing that happened in 2025 is that England and the Lionesses are back-to-back European champions. Goodness knows how we did it, but we did it. And we are, the first English team to win back-to-back championship, and Liam Williamson became the first captain to win an international senior captain to win a tournament on international soil.
So much good coming out of the Euros. As well, this tournament broke records. Another great thing that happened this year in basically all of the attendance records, over 600,000 people attended the tournament overall, which was a new record, up 14% from 3 years ago. And all of it being held in smaller stadiums as well. I'm going to just tack on because let's just do Euros all in one, Allie. We got the rainbow armbands. We got Leah Valti and the host nation themselves, just darlings. We got Jess Fishlock in Wales for the first time, and the first goal for Wales scored by who else? It had to be Jess Fishlock. And Italy, once again, the tournament darlings, and in particular, Christina Giarelli was a treat to watch.
Next one is Casey Stoney becomes the head coach of Canada. This is huge. We all love Casey Stoney. We are a Casey Stoney fan podcast. And after being done dirty by San Diego, it's a great appointment. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to see what Canada can do under her.
As well, Denver was announced as the second NWSL expansion team that will join in 2026, and Atlanta was announced as an expansion team joining in 2028. We love that.
Keeping it with the NWSL, and who says that social media campaigning doesn't work? We managed to bully, and let's be honest, we bullied them in getting Boston to change their name from Boz Nation to Boston Legacy. Doesn't Boz Nation now feel like a fever dream?
It does. It does. Another positive, unless you're a Liverpool fan, I suppose, Gareth Taylor departed from Manchester City, and they immediately started to thrive in this 2025-2026 season.
We saw another league in women's football kick off in the Northern Super League, Canada's first ever league, and it's been a massive success, and I'm looking forward to their second season kicking off shortly.
This one's going to be short. Arsenal won the Champions League.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Bay FC actually broke the NWSL league game record with having 47,000 fans turn up to one of their matches. That is huge.
The U.S. women's national team hired none other than Emma Hayes.
And Sarah's not shut up about it since.
I have not, nor will I.
NWSL is starting to create their own pyramid, and they have announced that they've applied to create a second division within their structure. So that's fun because more women's football is always a good thing.
Chelsea did the domestic treble. Did they? That was this year. Oh my God. Chelsea did the domestic treble and then lost Champions League.
I'm glad you said that because I'm like, I don't care. I was like, that's
not positive for some people.
It's not a positive for me, but there we go.
It's positive for some people. We celebrate people winning.
It's all about me, Sarah. Do you not understand? This one's the big one for me, is the fact that Marta continues. You know, Marta took herself out of the running internationally and said she was retiring from international football and it wasn't going to happen. And we gave her the big massive send-off in the Olympics, and then suddenly she's back in contention because she realizes she could play in her home nation World Cup. And why not? More Marta is always a good thing.
Couldn't agree more. Finally, this Park Clinton trade has gone so well. Jess Park, Grace Clinton. It's gone so well for all parties involved. I feel like it's just been a highlight.
I liked the drama of it all. That was the fun bit for me in the transfer window, was the drama of it all happening.
Love it. All right, anything else, Allie, before we move on to the worst of 2025?
I just think that it's been a good year for women's football as a whole. It's been a good year for women's sport as a whole, to be honest. We are starting to see a massive increase in different sports, specifically rugby this year, and it's just been exciting to see that growth in a good way. So yeah, that for me is a highlight of 2025, is just the growth of women's sport.
I love that. Off of that, I have a strange proposition for us.
Go for it.
Shall we keep it positive and just do the best of 2025? Do we really need to end on the worst?
Do you know what? Yeah, let's just keep it positive. I'm normally a negative Nancy, a Debbie Downer, but I'm like, do you know what? I do want to keep it positive because yes, there have been some incidents, and y'all just listen to us previous episodes if you want to hear what they are. But as a whole, we've seen some good growth. We've seen some fun times, and 2026 is looking like it's going to be another bumper year. And that is it for 2025 here at the Women's Soccer Show. But yet, if you are wanting more, there will be an episode of the other 8 up on your Patreon. We're going to talk through our pre-season predictions and see who's right, who's wrong, what's going on, who managed to be more convincing. I feel like Mike might be winning this. We'll carry on our game of do Leicester pass more, under Rick pass more, which I know you all enjoy on our Patreon. So yeah, so the more content will be going up on that. But from the main show, it has been a wonderful 2025, and we look forward to hearing you, seeing you in 2026. But as ever, I've been Ali.
I've been Sarah. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.